In 1885, a small group of religious people joined together for church meetings in the fields and at each other's homes. In 1888, they built a wooden structure on the property of Mr. Tom Manning, establishing Pleasant Grove Baptist Church with Reverend Sam Drew serving as the church's first pastor. Reverend T.M. Allen, acting as moderator, ordained Pleasant Grove's first deacons. This inaugural group included George Head Sr., E.D. Beavers, Joe Hines, Keller Lemons, Joe Brewster, Henry Head, and Sam Dallas. In 1889, the trustees began developing a plan to purchase 1 acre of land for $25 to erect a permanent church site. The first permanent church building was erected in 1901. Under the leadership of Pastor Drew, the membership grew until there was a need for a larger facility. Thus, the first building, located on this very same spot, became a school. When Pastor Sam Drew moved to Oklahoma, his brother, Reverend Will Drew, became Pleasant Grove's second pastor. Under Pastor Will Drew's leadership, the larger building was constructed on the site next door to the 1016 Whitlock Avenue edifice, directly beyond the old oak tree, where the stump still remains in the ground. The turn of the century proved difficult for Pleasant Grove. In 1903, Pastor Drew resigned, and a terrible windstorm wrecked the building. It stood in this condition for 2 years as a result of financial and societal challenges. God then sent Reverend Green Lepard to serve as the church's third pastor.
My name is Lydia Wilmot, and my age is 91. I was born November the 24th, 1928. And in November, I'll be 92. I came when we were in the old wooden church. How I really got here, Reverend Dorsey was my pastor in Bartow County, and I followed him. He told me to come here instead of going up there to church. Reverend Dorsey lived in Rome, but he was here every day that they were building the church. It was a great thing because we all worked together. We were just like, everybody just like sisters and brothers. It wasn't like just somebody you know. It was just like a real family. And like homecomings, you know, we have the tables out in the yard, and then we eat out the back of the cars. But it was just great because we had 2 services when we had like homecoming and church anniversary.
From 1903 to 1977, Pleasant Grove Baptist Church grew under the leadership of 8 dynamic pastors. The Reverend John Wyatt, 1905 through 1907. Reverend E.L. Allen, 1907 through 1911. Pastor Joe Jennings, 1912 through 1914. Pastor John J. Freeman, 1914 through 1915. Pastor Owens Tyers, 1915 through 1916. Reverend A.V. Williamson, 1916 through 1958. Reverend J.L. Dorsey, 1959 through 1977. And Reverend C.O. Bryant, 1977 through 1978. In January 1978, Pleasant Grove elected Reverend Lockhart as its 12th pastor. In your service, one more time.
My name is Jim Underwood. I've been a member of Pleasant Grove since 1980. Me and my wife joined here in November of 1980 when we got married. And it's been a good ride ever since. Enjoyed being a member here. There was things that inspired me. I thought I could sing a little bit. I love the choir, the fellowship of the people. Everybody seemed so friendly. Everybody seemed like they were, you know, they knew you when they really didn't. And I loved to hear Pastor Lockhart preach. I loved his preaching. He was a fireball.
In that next verse, he said, with the heart, man believes unto righteousness, and with the mouth, confession is made unto salvation. I don't care what you say, I believe, I confess, I repent, and I'm saved.
Under Reverend Lockhart's leadership, Pleasant Grove accomplished many visions and dreams, including the elimination of church debt and a series of capital improvement projects to modernize church facilities. Reverend Lockhart was instrumental in establishing many of the church's functioning ministries, enhancing the church's evangelism and membership. During his tenure, the church grew from 400 members to more than 1,500, and 52 associate ministers were credentialed for gospel ministry. For the first time in Pleasant Grove's history, the church hired a full-time secretary to oversee the administrative operations of the church.
My wife and I joined Pleasant Grove in 1980, and we've been here ever since. My background is in the academic field. I became a high school teacher years ago. I went back to school, got all kinds of degrees because my mother told me, son, one day, I was born during the time of discrimination and segregation. She said, one day, Randy, that door that'll close to you now, she talking about the white door, she to get all the education, get all the training you can get, because once the door's open, he said, you'll be able to walk through those doors. Integration is going to come, but you're going to have to be prepared. Education is should be your main goal. And I went to school, got all kinds of degrees, and I became a superintendent of the Martin Luther King National Historic Site. That was my last job. So I really enjoyed it.
In 1980, the beginning of the year, my husband was transferred to Atlanta, Georgia, for a job. He was in the National Park Service, working for the National Park Service. So they gave us a choice to move here, and they said you can either move to Atlanta or you can move to the Virgin Islands. We chose Atlanta. Thank God we did. We moved in a predominantly white neighborhood, and my children were going to that high school, predominantly white school. And just so happened there was a young lady there by the name of Janet Arnold that my daughter kind of made friends with. She made friends with her because there was only a few black kids at the school. So it just so happened that Janet Arnold and her family had been members at Pleasant Grove all of their lives. Her family started with the first church in the woods. So it had gone back to that. So she said, where do you all go to church? And knowing that we had moved into the community and we were new, she invited us to come. Well, she invited my daughter to come to church with her that Sunday. So I said, well, what we'll do, we'll all get ready and we'll be dressed. When she come by to pick you up, we'll follow in our car. So we followed Janet Arnold and my daughter Darlene to Pleasant Grove, which is the old church up on the hill, down the street here, half a mile away. And when we approached the church, I wanted to tell you the reason why we stopped at Pleasant Grove. When we drove up to the church, one of the deacons, his name was Eddie Lee Rhodes, came out to the car. He opened the door. He said, good morning, how are you? Come in, we're so happy to have you here, because he knew we were new. And he invited us into church. He gave me a fan. He gave me a bottle of water, glass of water or something. He said, come in, have a seat. You all enjoy the service. We enjoyed the service, by the way, and Reverend Lockhart, Benjamin Lockhart, was a pastor at that time. So we were really impressed, and we were impressed with the way we were treated. So at the end of the service, Deacon Rhodes and his brother, Deacon Robert Rhodes, escorted us back to the car, thanked us for coming, and said, I hope you come back again. And what we truly hope is that you enjoyed the service enough to come back. So on the following Sunday, we came back to Pleasant Grove, and on that Sunday, we joined. And that was the third Sunday in January of 1980. And we have been members at Pleasant Grove since then.
Yeah.
Given the church's incredible growth, the need arose to construct a larger facility. To fill this need, 5 acres were purchased at the corner of Whitlock Avenue and Lindley Avenue to build a new worship campus.
Pastor decided that he was going to form a building committee. And so we started that process of trying to, the people wasn't really, they weren't really ready for that, but when we started talking about how much the church was going to cost to build and that kind of thing, and they, it was some, I understand. because they didn't know how fast the church was growing. But as we explained it and worked through it, they finally got on board with it, and we finally decided that it was time to start building a church. And pastor decided that he was going to give the go-ahead. So then we hired an architect, and they came in. In the late 90s, we started building a church.
On September 24th, 2000, Pleasant Grove completed construction of a new worship campus and relocated from 1016 Whitlock Avenue to our current location at 566 Whitlock Avenue.
It was a great time at the church, and the church was growing. People were being saved. People were coming to the church being saved. We needed to be a community-involved church, and we needed to be a church that people were getting saved and loved to come to church here. This is a family-oriented church.
My first impression, I met the members. They were outgoing. They came to me, and I was enthused with what they did, what they saw in me. And from that moment, I told my wife, this is the church that we're going to join, and we've been here ever since because of their welcome.
Yeah, and people were friendly.
Yeah.
You know, we coming here from a city. We were city folks. So coming to this area during that time, it was basically rural. And to see people respond the way they did to us, you know, knowing that we were new, but they embraced us as a family, and we became a family, a part of the church really, really fast. So that made me choose. All of that together made us join at Pleasant Grove.
In 2012, the Fellowship Hall was officially named in Reverend Lockhart's honor. Following the Lord's guiding, Reverend Lockhart retired in March 2017 after 39 years of successful and faithful service. His visionary and steadfast leadership laid the foundation for the church's future growth.
After we got moved in, we began to settle in, and things were going good. And Pastor was preaching every Sunday, and he was enjoying it. And after some time, Pastor, he was getting tired. He was kind of ready to move on, so he decided that he was going to do that.
On May 18, 2017, Reverend Dr. Sammy J. Dow was elected as our 13th pastor and began his tenure on Sunday, June 25, 2017, during our 132nd church anniversary. He and his wife, Dr. Jacqueline Dow, were officially installed on Sunday, September 24, 2017.
It felt like home. It felt like my church that I grew up in High Point. It felt like everybody felt like family. Like they were your aunties and your cousins and your godmamas, and that it had that feel. And to even be greeted in the parking lot, people were like, hey, and they're speaking to me, and I'm like, hey, and they're like, they knew I was the guest, I was the candidate. It was no secret that I was coming in that weekend. But there was an air of, when you're here, you're home. And if you're here, you're family. And I thought that was the church kind of, rolling out the red carpet because a candidate had come in. But I quickly came to realize after we got here, that's just who we are. That's who we are as Pleasant Grove. If you're here, Pleasant Grove is kind of like going to Big Mama's house, right? Like, come on in, you hungry? You need something? Come on in here and get you something to eat. Sit down. No, we're not taking no for an answer. We're going to fix you something to eat. You need some groceries? We're going to bag up something and give it to you. That's who Pleasant Grove is. And that really, I think, is the memory that sticks out to me the most. It was just this very warm place where when you come, you instantly have that feeling of, this is home.
I love Pastor Dow. He's just like a son of mine. I love to hear him preach, and I love to see him, hear him when he take one word out of a sentence and make a sermon. Just the one word. He don't take, and it's just really great. He's really a good speaker, and I could sit up all day and listen to him and never get hungry.
Over the years, we have continued to expand, to grow, to accomplish the things that we had set out to do. And bringing Pastor Dow in as a youngster, and that's what he is. He's a youngster compared to us. It just says that we are on our way to even higher heights. We don't know where the Lord has for us to go, but we know we've got to go up. We can't go down.
And I believe that the reason that the church is now, at this time, still being a force in the community without meeting in the sanctuary every week is because of the leadership of this church. Leadership, pastor, leadership team, deacons, the strong feeling of family, and the strong love that people have for this church. And Pastor Dow is doing a good job of letting the people know, keeping them informed as to what's going on. And now he's moving into another phase of social justice. I mean, this is where we need to be. And I think that the church, I think that Pleasant Grove will support our pastor, even at this time in this pandemic, on what's going on, what he's trying to get accomplished.
I love being a member of Pleasant Grove because it's still a family church, and most everybody just, even like Reverend Underwood, they come to you, and the members, the ministers and all, they make you feel like you're somebody really. They are really, it's just a really good place to be, and I love coming to church.
I'm a proud member of Pleasant Grove, mainly because of the people. It was the atmosphere, that religious atmosphere. They saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and they included me into the family. We became a part of the family. But it was the people, the love that they had for me and the love that I had for the people.
Not only did we have to reach out, they reached out for us. So that itself made it worthwhile, and it made us want to be a part of Pleasant Grove Missionary Baptist Church.
Yeah.
We are a historic congregation who has been given the responsibility for remaining a relevant congregation to this present age. And we are in the process of figuring out how we marry who we have been to who God is shaping us into, so that we can be comfortable in what God is doing in this season, so that we ultimately don't sabotage the work that God wants to do in the future. Transforming in that we are wrestling with restructuring and revamping and renovating pieces and parts of who we are that have worked in previous times but need somewhat of a makeover in this current time, and to even move us forward. Transforming in that we are still figuring out how do we remain who we are as we become what God is making us into. We are, by our very nature, a traditional African-American Baptist congregation, but we are being transformed to become a hub of transformation, innovation, and connectivity in our community. And we are figuring out how all those pieces fit together in this season, and how do we ensure that we make space for everyone who's supposed to be a part of that journey with us.
Under Pastor Dow's leadership, our membership now exceeds 2,000, and we have experienced sustainable and exponential growth in every area of our church. We are transformed people transforming the world.